Hey, what's up guys? You're watching DIY Dozier, and on today's episode, I'm going to show you how I'm going to make an industrial bar light fixture with Edison bulbs, which are dimmable. Stick around, I'll show you the tools that are required and how to get the job done. So here I am in this bar, and we are wanting to get rid of a lot of, we'll say, ambient lighting. It's a little bright in here, and we're trying to get the bar atmosphere going on. So what we're going to do is we are going to stretch a light fixture the length of the bar, which happens to be 16 feet. So this bar here, we're going to have 6 Edison bulbs, which are dimmable, which are going to be on a dimmable switch, which happens to already be installed in the wall. We have a light fixture here, which is removed, and it still has power. And I believe we're going to mount with cable to this beam right here, which is wood, and this beam here also. And it's going to drape over the bar. And then with that turned on, we could kill all these lights you see here and the ceiling fan lights, and we'll have our nice ambient bar glow, and we'll no longer need to be so lit up in here. So anyway, over here I have our black industrial pipe, or whatever you want to call it, malleable pipe. There is 5 36-inch pieces here. So 36 inches in length. These are 1.5 inches. Everybody else on YouTube and everybody else that I see doing these are doing about 1 inch. But 1 inch, as big as it is, would look too flimsy. So yes, this is going to have some weight. Yes, it costs a little bit more. I will put a link in the description below where I got everything. That way, if you decide you want to make something that's a little bit larger than what everybody else is showing you on YouTube, you can have access to this kind of stuff as well. So again, we got 5 36-inch pipes here, 6 12-inch pieces of pipe here. I've got 4 T-sections here, and I've got 2 90-degree sections. I got 50 feet of lamp cable, and I also have 6 Edison bulbs, which are dimmable. I believe they're E26 base, and here are the E26 base pieces, so you can put together your own fixture. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use some wire cutters, and I'm going to run this cable here through all my pieces of pipe as I connect them. That way it's not such a pain afterwards to run the wire through a completed piece. It's much easier if you put the wire in as you are connecting the pieces. We're going to have, I'm going to run one cable up from the center here. The light's going to hang right here over the center, and I'm going to have the power wire run up the cable to the beam, and then we're going to stretch it across over there to the light fixture. So I'm going to start at the left end and run all the power wire through there all the way over to the right end, since we're running it up the right cable. So Here we are with the pipes connected. It is exactly 16 feet long after all the pieces are put together. So next up, I have to get these fixtures here, the base for the light, and I'm going to pull the wire. I've got the wire ran through the main pipe all the way down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and run. This is the end of the pipe, so the cables or the wire is going to run out of the other end. So I'm going to go ahead and feed this entire spool through this end here and pull it all down that way. And I'm going to start with putting the light base on that spot right there. And then I'm going to pull the wire through this, pull it down through that hole there, and I'm going to tie it into the next fixture. It's just going to daisy chain. I'm just going to cut the wires back, attach it, and run it back up. Just going to pull the slack down, and all I'm going to do is strip the wire back a little bit, connect it, and let it run on back up inside there. So when I get to the end, all I have to do is tap a hole in here where I'm going to do my cable to mount it to the ceiling, and then drill a hole big enough for the wire to go through and run the wire straight up the chain to the ceiling. Alright guys, so as you're looking at these sockets for your lights, you'll notice there's a gold screw on the left and there's a silver screw on the right. The gold screw is going to be your 110, your hot wire. The silver screw is going to be your ground wire. If you look inside here, the gold comes out in the middle. That's where the center of your bulb touches the base there. And the outside, which I'm holding with my fingers, is attached to the ground. So the silver there is tied into the ground on the side in the very back right there. So again, the gold in the middle is your hot wire. Gold screw right here. Black wire is going to be hot. It's going to go on all the gold, and the white wire is going to go on all the silver from here on out through this entire fixture. So I pretty much have every light socket wired up, and inside the fixture so far, I am down to the last one. And where I'm at now is I have the wire run out. Right here it comes out, there it is. And then I've cut it, and I have to run this wire back inside and up the fixture to the hole that I'm going to make, so the wire can come out and go up with the chain or the cable to the ceiling, so it can make its way over to that light outlet over there, the power outlet. So what I've done is I've centered this light on the bar. I've pulled out a measuring tape and I measured the bar, I measured the light fixture. The light fixture is actually about 6 inches shorter. So I've got it 3 inches shy on each side. You see it's 3 inches shorter to the left of the end of the bar. And as we go on back down here, it's the same thing. Got about 3 inches off here from the edge of the light fixture. So what I'm going to do now is, I didn't want the chains to be hanging at a weird angle. I essentially am standing underneath this beam. So when I look up, the beam is over my head. That is a wooden beam, by the way, but it's directly over my head. And what I'm going to do is line it up by eye to where it needs to have a hole drilled for the chain, and the hole drilled for the wire to run through directly into this beam here. So I've got it pretty much figured out where I'm going to do this at. I'm going to mark it real quick. I'm going to drill my holes. I have to run this wire through the pipe first. I got to run it through this way and then turn it that way, and then feed it all the way back down and then out that. If I don't do that, it will be nearly impossible if I wire up that light fixture, that socket. If I put that socket on there and force that wire up in there, it will be nearly impossible to feed it back through here and then pull it out the hole. I'd rather feed it through the hole and push it down that way. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to knock that out real quick. So unfortunately my camera died during the process of doing this, so yeah. What I did was I came in here and I drilled a hole large enough to accommodate our wire there. I fed the wire into the pipe this direction and then ran it that way. When it got to right here, it got in a slight bind, so I took this pipe and I unscrewed it and kind of folded it over to the side there, stuck my finger in and pulled the wire out this way, fed it all the way through. And then I fed it on down the line to the next kink here, in which case I unscrewed that pipe also and just pulled the line out and then fed it all the way down to the bottom. Went ahead and installed that light base, and after I got it installed, I pulled the light base back up, pulled all the slack from the wire out, right back out through the top, and now I have that long pigtail there. Okay, so now that we have our fixture base done, I need to figure out where my center is on this beam up here and on that beam up there, because that's where I'm going to be hanging the fixture from. I need to make sure that it's centered over the bar here. So what I'm going to do, I mean, obviously I can't just stand here and look up in the air and put a mark on the ceiling. I'm going to have to actually get up there. I'm going to hang a strap with a hook on it, or from a ratchet strap. You could use a piece of string and a washer or something like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang it so that it pretty much lines up with this leading edge right here. So this edge of the bar, that way it divides both the back and the front. I'm going to make sure that it hangs directly over this ledge from that beam up there. And I'm going to hang it, mark it on the ceiling with a Sharpie, and I can see where I'm going to actually hang this light fixture up. I'm going to mark that, and then I'm going to have to do some measuring. I'll show you what I'm going to be doing here in just a second. So I just remembered I had this chain laying around. It was for the original pool table light, and I've recently hung another pool table light, and it came with its own chain, so I took the chain off of that. This right here, I'm going to hold it up to the ceiling and figure out where, you know, off that beam where my center is. Like I said, I want to hang directly over this right here. So I'm going to figure out where that is on the ceiling and mark it with my Sharpie. All right, so now that I have my marks marked up there on the beams, I'm going to use these hooks right here. These are 400-pound rated hooks, as you can see right there. They're what I was looking for. You know, it doesn't have to be this. You can get whatever you want. I have these, and I also have these. These hooks are, you know, just a different style of hook. Got a hook in there, but these hooks are rated at 80 pounds a piece, and there's 4 screws for each hook. I've got 2-inch wood screws. They're exterior wood screws. They're pretty overkill for what I'm doing. I believe 2 of those screws and these right here ought to hold this light fixture. The fixture is probably close to about 80 pounds. So I'm thinking each of these 2 screws and this right here, I'm going to get those mounted up to the ceiling, and we're going to try it with these. If I don't feel like it's, you know, safe, or if I don't feel comfortable with it, then I'll go ahead and change to the other mounts. But the other mounts being 80 pounds weighted a piece, I would end up using 2, which would mean I would put one mount over here, and then I would do another mount over here, and then I have to take the cable that I'm going to hang it with and bring it down and loop it and bring it back up. That way I distribute the weight evenly on both sides. That would give us 160 pounds rating on each end, on each beam. So I just, I didn't want to have to do that if I didn't have to. But anyway, let's give this a shot here. I'm going to hold this up to the ceiling. I'm going to mark my, my location here where I'm going to be shooting my holes. I'm going to pre-drill just a pilot hole so I can shoot the screws in there easier, and then I'm going to readjust the drill and do that. So let's knock that out real quick. So as with anything, you got to remain fluid and able to adapt if there's an issue. The hooks that I was going to use had 2-inch screws on them. These beams are wood on the surface. Looks like a 5/8 board or something like that. Half-inch thick piece of wood. I'm going to go ahead and assume behind that is a steel I-beam of some sort. As soon as I drilled about a ½ inch into it, I hit something really hard and it wouldn't drill any further. So, with that said, I have some shorter screws here. These screws are made for these hooks here, which I will be using now. And let's go ahead and make a note. As I said a minute ago, if I was to use these hooks are rated at 80 pounds a piece, which means I need to spread the weight across 2 hooks, because I'm really worried about the weight of this fixture. It's pretty big. It's pretty heavy, and I don't want it to rip out of the ceiling. So what I'm going to do is take 2 hooks. I'm going to stick one further down and the other one have a space between the two, and I'm going to run the cable from this end down and through the light fixture, bring it back up, and then run it through that one right there. So that's what I'm going to do to distribute the weight evenly on this. So now I need to take my tape measure, which is right here, and I need to climb up there, and that little black dot you see, way up there, you see that black dot that I marked in the 2 previous holes that I drilled. I'm going to use that as my center. I'm going to measure out about 6 inches to the right and about 6 inches to the left, and I'm going to put my hooks, I'm going to make a mark, and I'm going to put my hooks on those, and I'm going to run my cable down. Let's get that knocked out. Now that I've got my hooks secured into the ceiling on both sides, I can now take my my vinyl coated wire rope kit. I got this off of Amazon. You guys can, I'll send you a link down below. This is what I'm using. It's 340 pound rated. It's 1/8 inch by 30 feet long. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, cut it to length. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these clamps here. I'm going to run the wire rope through one hook, put a clamp on it, clamp the wire rope itself, and then I'm going to measure how far down I want this to hang. I'm going to have to measure the length of this light plus the bulb so I know how far down it's going to hang. And then I'll install this guy here inside the actual pipe there. I'm going to put this, drill a hole, put this inside of there. I'm not sure. I might even just drill a hole and run the cable through there. We'll cross that bridge in just a second. But first things first, I'm going to start hang one end of this cable and figure out how far we're going to go with it. Okay, I'm holding a bulb in my hand here. This bulb is about 5 inches from the beginning of the glass right here to the tip of the glass. It's almost 5 inches. It's not quite 5 inches. This fixture that I've got here is about 15 inches from the tip of the base here to the top of the fixture. It's about 15 inches. So we're going to go ahead and call this 20 inches. total with the bulb installed. I looked up here at the ceiling and I determined about how high I want this bulb to hang in front of my face. What I did was I took a measuring tape. Let me see if I can do this. Let me set the bulb down. I don't want to put it on the table. I don't want to touch it with my fingers. Knowing that I have 20 inches of fixture, I took my measuring tape here, and what I did was I held it up to the middle point on the ceiling that I had previously put up there, that little black dot up there, that's the center. I put it up to that, and I looked down the tape here, and as I come down the tape, I see that at about the 3 foot mark, which is right there, that's about where I want the base of my bulb to hang. All right, so having the measuring tape laid out here on the table, it hangs at the 3 foot mark. That's about as far down as I want the tip of the bulb to go. Knowing that the light fixture is 15 inches, okay? So 15 inches, and knowing that the bulb is an additional 5 inches, we're gonna add that to it. That puts us at 20 inches, okay? So then our remaining amount to the 3 foot mark there is 1 foot and 4 inches. So as you see right here, you got 4 inches to the 2 foot mark, and then you got 1 foot to the 3 foot mark. We're going to say 1 foot and 4 inches. We need to double that because it's not only coming down from this hook here, it's coming down 1 foot and 4 inches, and then it's going back up 1 foot and 4 inches to that one over there. We need to account for the radius of the turn in the pipe. We're going to call that an inch. So we're at 2 foot 8 inches with the length, and then we add an inch for the pipe, because when it goes down through the pipe here and it turns around and it comes back out, it's going to take another inch. So we will then be at 2 foot 9 inches length of cable. Account for the angle of the cable. It's going to be going in a V shape, not straight down. So we need to add another inch. And then we need to also account for hooking through the hook and coming back into this. So it's going to go through that hook, come back down, and I'm going to put this clamp on there and clamp it tight. So I'm going to go ahead and count for an additional 2 inches off of that. So we're going to call it 3 foot 2 inches total on both pieces of cable. 3 foot 2 inches total, okay? If that makes any sense, you'll see here in just a second. Let's go ahead and knock out a piece of this. All right, so as per my measurements, 3 foot 2 inches, I'm going to go ahead and stretch out my rope here. 3 foot 2 inches right there. As you go all the way down the bar here, you see I've got it measured out. So 3 foot 2 inches on the measuring tape. I'm going to take my Sharpie, and I'm going to go ahead and mark this rope with a Sharpie right there. I'm going to cut it before I hang it. Now you guys can cut this with whatever you want, bolt cutters, hacksaw, whatever. I have a grinding tool here with a cut-off disc on it. I'm just going to hold it with a pair of pliers and cut it off. And then I'll go ahead and hang this piece of cable. there in the ceiling. I tucked away everything else. We need a little cover to go over that, but for right now, the wires run across the ceiling to the wall. We got a little zip tie holding it against that cable over there, and we got another zip tie underneath the beam there at the top, and all the excess is wound up on that rope right there. We got two little zip ties holding that up. So it is officially hung. Looks good, it's level. It's time to go ahead and get these bases secure. What I've got is some adhesive, some very good Gorilla Glue adhesive, construction adhesive. I'm going to take a bead and put it around this lip right here and push it up and let it grab hold of the bottom of that pipe. It says it has 0 seconds work time, so I'm going to put it on there and hold it up to the pipe and hold it there for about 30 seconds and see how it does. I have here a caulk gun. I picked this up over at Lowe's. It wasn't but just a couple bucks. Got that there. And here is my adhesive. This is like I said, Gorilla Glue heavy duty construction adhesive, ultimate. Like I said, it has 0 seconds instant grab. You know, works underwater, it's flexible, it fills gaps, it's paintable, incredibly durable, yada yada. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pop the top off of that and start setting these light fixture bases to those pipes. So here we are with all the bulbs installed and our complete bar light fixture. It is on a potentiometer, so an adjustable dimmer switch, if you will. So I can come over here, and it's right here on the wall. I can come over here and I can turn it down, way down. Look at that. We can get them real dim if we want to, get the mood light going. Very cool. Very cool. I'm a happy guy. They get very bright as well. With them all the way turned up, there is plenty of light in here. I was curious if I was going to go with 6 lights or 8 lights. I wanted to make sure there was plenty of lighting for anybody sitting here at the bar, which if I was sitting here, there is plenty of light right here. Plenty of light. If I was bartending and I was back here on the other side of the bar, again, plenty of light. I could see everything back here. You know, I could see all the bottles behind me on the wall. I could see everything that's in front of me, the cooler, all that. Now, of course, we'd have more lighting back here if this sign was turned on right here, if the TV was turned on. You know, there's more lights in here that are not turned on. So, anyway, here we are completed. Hey guys, thanks a lot for watching the video. If you have a question or a comment, drop it down below and I will be sure to respond to you as soon as possible. If the video helped you out in any way, shape, or form, be sure to click that like button and also subscribe so you'll be notified of future content being released. You're watching DIY Dozier. Share the knowledge, share the passion, share the skill, and as always, do it yourself.